understand that human emotions and biology were much more complex than she had originally thought. One afternoon, after a long day of observations, Adam found himself in the quiet garden again. The air was cool, and the sky above was bathed in the soft, golden light of Valsera's setting suns. It was a peaceful moment, one that Adam often looked forward to as he tried to make sense of his time on this alien planet. He was deep in thought when Elisara approached him, her steps light on the soft ground. She wore a simple tunic made of Valseran fabric, but the way she carried herself always made her look graceful. Her violet eyes locked onto his as she came closer. "Adam," she said, her tone serious but not unfriendly. "I have been thinking." Adam smiled, knowing this could mean almost anything with Elisara. Thinking about what? Elisara stopped in front of him, looking up at the stars for a moment before turning her gaze back to him. "About what you said the other day? About experiencing human reproduction to understand it fully." Adam's smile faded slightly, unsure where this conversation was heading. He had been half joking when he had made that suggestion. He hadn't expected her to take it seriously. "I didn't mean that you should. I just said it as an idea." Adam spoke carefully, unsure if he had made a mistake by suggesting something so personal. Elisara's expression softened. "I know you didn't mean anything by it," she said. "But after our conversations, after seeing how deeply connected your people are through something as fundamental as reproduction, I cannot ignore it. I do not understand it, but I am curious." Adam felt a knot tighten in his chest. He could see where this was going, but he didn't know how to react. He had never expected to find himself in this kind of situation on an alien planet, discussing human intimacy with someone who was not human. "You're still not sure about it, are you?" Adam asked, his voice gentle. Human reproduction is personal. It's not something we can just show anyone. It's not something you can explain easily." Elisara nodded slowly. "Yes, I still struggle with it, but you spoke of connection, of love. If it is so important to you, then perhaps I need to understand it better." "I am willing to learn, Adam. I am willing to experience it, to understand what it means to be human." Adam took a step back, his mind racing. He had never thought that Elisara would actually ask to experience something so personal. She was intelligent, logical, but this request, it was something beyond her usual scientific curiosity. "Are you sure about this?" Adam asked quietly, looking into her eyes. "This isn't just about science. It's a part of who we are, it's emotional, it's something we share with another person." Elisara's eyes met his with a mix of determination and uncertainty. "I understand that it is emotional, but I need to experience it for myself, to see if what you say is true. I do not think I will fully understand your species unless I see it firsthand. I want to understand, Adam. I want to know what it truly means to be human." Adam felt his heart beat a little faster as he processed her words. He could see that Elisara was sincere, but there was also a deep sense of hesitation in her. She was driven by her need to understand, but it wasn't just about knowledge anymore. It had become something more, something that touched the core of what it meant to be human. "I don't know if I can be the one to show you this," Adam said, his voice low. "It's not just something you can learn from another person. It's something that involves trust, vulnerability, and feelings that go deeper than just biology." Elisara seemed to consider his words carefully, her expression softening as she stepped closer to him. "Then perhaps I must trust you, Adam. I trust that you will help me understand. I'm not asking for anything more. I simply wish to experience this bond you speak of." Adam took a deep breath, his thoughts swirling. He knew that this would change everything. He wasn't sure if he was ready to take that step with Elisara, but he understood why she felt the need to experience it. She was seeking to understand something that was beyond her comprehension, something that was inherently human. "I don't want you to feel pressured," Adam said. "This is something personal, and it's not just about the physical act. It's about what comes after, the bond that's formed between two people. It's not always easy." Elisara met his gaze and nodded, her voice soft. "I understand." "But I must." Elisara nodded, her eyes filled with both determination and vulnerability. "I am ready to understand." Adam couldn't help but feel a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. This was a turning point in their relationship. He had no idea what would happen after this, but he knew that this was an opportunity to bridge the gap between two very different worlds. As they stood together in the garden, Adam realized that they had both crossed a line. They were no longer just two individuals from different species. They were two people connected by a shared desire to understand something deeper than biology. And with that realization, Adam took a step closer to Elisara, ready to guide her through this new experience. Whatever it might bring, the days leading up to their meeting were filled with quiet anticipation. Adam had tried to focus on his work with the other members of the human team, but his thoughts always drifted back to Elisara. He had never imagined that a simple conversation about human biology would lead them to this point. An exploration that blurred the lines between science and something much more personal. Elisara had asked him to help her understand human connection, to experience something that for her species was an ancient and almost incomprehensible process. The idea was both exciting and nerve-wracking. Adam had never expected this type of challenge. But there was something about Elisara's determination that made him believe she was sincere. The evening arrived quietly, and Adam stood outside the shelter they had been assigned on Valsera, waiting. The sky was streaked with the colors of a setting sun, casting a golden hue over the alien landscape. He took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. This wasn't just about teaching Elisara. It was about trust and vulnerability, two things that couldn't be taught in a simple exchange of knowledge. When Elisara appeared, she looked different than usual. Her normally composed demeanor was tinged with something else, something softer. The air around them seemed to hum with the weight of the moment. "Adam," she greeted him, her voice quieter than usual. "Are you ready?" Adam smiled gently, though his heart was racing. "I guess we'll see," he said, trying to keep the mood light. Elisara gave him a small nod, and for the first time since they had met, there was a hint of uncertainty in her eyes. "I've been thinking about what you said, the connection, the emotions that come with it. I know it's more than just biology. But can it really be what you say?" Adam glanced at her, sensing her struggle. He could see that she was both curious and unsure, but there was a part of her that wanted to understand. This wasn't just about proving a point. It was about bridging the gap between two vastly different worlds. "Sometimes words aren't enough," Adam said softly. "You've got to feel it to understand it," Elisara nodded slowly. "I understand." Her gaze shifted to the ground for a moment before she looked back up at him. "I trust you, Adam." For a moment, they simply stood there, the quiet stretching between them like a thin thread. Adam knew that this moment would change their relationship forever. It wasn't just about the physical act, it was about something deeper, and Elisara knew that too. The way she looked at him now was different, filled with a mix of trust and uncertainty. "You're not just studying this, are you?" Adam asked, trying to break the tension. "You're not just going through the motions because it's something to observe. You're doing this because you want to understand, because you want to experience it too." Elisara met his gaze, and there was something raw in her eyes that made Adam pause. "Yes," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I want to understand it, but I also want to know it, what it feels like, what it means to truly connect." Her words hung in the air, and Adam felt a surge of something he hadn't expected. It was more than just the physical act, it was about the bond that would form between them. It was about trust and vulnerability, something that couldn't be faked or forced. He took a step closer to her, his heartbeat steadying as he reached out. "We don't have to rush into anything. We can take it slow, go at your pace. This isn't just about what happens, it's about what we both feel. It's a journey, not just a destination." Elisara took a deep breath, her gaze softening. "I understand. I've never experienced anything like this before. I don't know what it will be like, but I trust you, Adam." They moved slowly toward each other, the space between them shrinking as they both tried to absorb the significance of the moment. Adam could feel the air grow thicker, charged with a tension that was both delicate and powerful. Elisara's eyes never left his, and he could sense the vulnerability in her, something she had never shown before. As they stood there, Adam realized that this wasn't just about teaching Elisara. It was about them both learning something new, something that transcended their individual cultures. The way humans connected, the way emotions intertwined with biology, was foreign to Elisara, but now it was something she was willing to experience. The first touch came unexpectedly, a gentle hand on his arm, as if to steady herself. It was soft, tentative, but there was a warmth in it that made Adam's heart race. Illy. Sarah's touch felt different from anything he had known. There was no rush, no urgency. It was an invitation, a question. The space between them felt charged with the weight of what was about to unfold. There was no turning back now. But neither of them seemed afraid. Instead, there was a quiet understanding, a realization that they were about to step into something deeper than either had anticipated. Elisara closed her eyes, taking a slow breath as she leaned closer to him. The moment was fragile, and Adam could sense how much it meant to her. She was crossing a boundary, stepping into something foreign, something vulnerable. But she wasn't doing it alone. Adam was with her, and that made all the difference. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the soft rustling of the wind through the trees. And then, in the stillness, Adam felt the first stirrings of something he couldn't name. It wasn't just about biology or science. It was about something more, something that only humans could understand. Something that connected them beyond the physical, and with that understanding, they stepped forward together, ready to experience something neither of them could fully explain. The bond they shared was just beginning, but already it was stronger than they had ever imagined. The days that followed were filled with moments of quiet reflection. Elisara and Adam's bond had deepened in ways neither of them had expected. What began as a curious exploration had turned into something more. They had both learned things about each other that went beyond their differences. It was no longer just about understanding human biology. It was about understanding what it meant to truly connect with another being. Elisara had not yet fully grasped the depth of human emotions, but she was trying. She asked Adam more questions about the human experience, about love, family, and what it meant to belong to someone. Adam answered each one honestly, trying to explain the complexity of human relationships in a way that she could understand. It wasn't always easy, and sometimes Elisara still struggled with the concepts. But she was patient, and so was Adam. One evening, as the two of them walked through the quiet garden near their quarters, Elisara spoke. "Adam," she began, her voice thoughtful, "I have been reflecting on our experiences, and I find myself confused. You spoke of love, of connection. But how do you know that it is real? How do you know that your emotions are not simply biological responses?" Adam stopped walking, taking a moment to gather his thoughts. This was a question he had heard before, one that had been lingering in the air since their first conversation. He turned to face Elisara, his expression serious yet kind. "That's a good question," he said softly. "Sometimes it's hard to explain. Love isn't something you can see or measure. It's something you feel in your heart, in your soul. It's about the bond you share with another person, the way they make you feel like you are part of something greater than yourself." Elisara's eyes studied him closely, her violet gaze intense. "And what if you do not feel that way? What if you only feel an instinct, a need to survive, to create?" Adam paused, thinking about her words. "I think the instinct to survive is a part of it, sure, but love goes beyond that. It's about caring for someone, about choosing them again and again, even when things aren't easy. It's about trusting them and allowing yourself to be vulnerable with them." Elisara considered this. She had never been taught to think about emotions in this way. Her people had long since evolved beyond physical needs, and they had created a society where emotions were often seen as weaknesses. But Adam's words made her think maybe emotions weren't something to be discarded. Maybe they were something that added depth to life, something that made the experience of living more meaningful. "I still don't fully understand," Elisara admitted, "but I can see that it is important to you, and that perhaps it is important to all humans." Adam smiled gently, touched by her openness. "It's okay not to understand it all right away, but you're starting to see it, and that's what matters." They continued walking, the conversation turning to other topics. But as they walked side by side, Adam couldn't help but notice the change in Ilisara. There was a softness to her now, a willingness to embrace emotions and connections that she had never allowed herself to experience before. She was opening up in a way that Adam hadn't expected, and it made him feel closer to her. The following days were filled with quiet moments of shared understanding. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic declarations. Instead, it was in the small things, the way Ilisara would look at him with a slight smile when he made a joke, the way she would seek his company when she needed someone to talk to, the way they began to understand each other without needing to explain everything. One night, as they sat together under the stars, Ilisara spoke again. "Adam, I have learned something about myself," she said, her voice quiet. "Something that I did not expect. I have always believed that emotions were distractions. But now, I am starting to see them as something more. Maybe they are not just weaknesses. Maybe they are what make us truly alive." Adam looked at her, a soft smile playing at the corner of his lips. "That's the first step, Ilisara. Understanding that emotions are a part of what makes us who we are." Ilisara looked up at the stars above, her mind deep in thought. "I have never felt this way before. I have always been so focused on logic, on the efficiency of my species, but now I see that there is more to life than that." Adam sat quietly beside her, feeling the warmth of the moment. There was no need for words right now. They were both experiencing something important, a new understanding, a new connection. It was as if the universe itself had paused, giving them this moment to reflect and learn from each other. "I'm glad you're beginning to see it," Adam said softly. "It's not always easy, but it's worth it. Emotions can be messy, but they make life beautiful. They give us a reason to keep going, even when things are hard." Ilisara nodded slowly, her eyes still fixed on the sky. "I think I'm starting to understand. Adam, I'm starting to see why humans are so different. But maybe that's what makes you special." Adam looked at her, surprised by her words. "You think so?" Ilisara turned to face him, her expression serious. "Yes, I do. You live with such passion, such emotion. It is inspiring. It makes me want to understand it more, to see it from your perspective." There was a long pause, and then Adam reached out, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "I'm glad I could help you see it. And I'm glad we're learning together." For the first time in their shared experience, Ilisara allowed herself to fully relax. She leaned into his touch, a sense of trust forming between them that had not been there before. She had come to Valsera to learn about humans, to study their biology and their way of life. But in the process, she had discovered something far more profound, the power of connection, of trust, and of shared vulnerability. As the stars above twinkled, Ilisara realized that she had found something she had never expected, a bond that went beyond logic, beyond science. It was the beginning of something new, something beautiful. And for the first time in her life, she felt truly alive. Days turned into weeks, and the connection between Adam and Ilisara grew stronger. They had both experienced something that neither had anticipated. Adam had opened up to Ilisara in ways he never thought possible, and Ilisara, though still struggling with some of the complexities of human emotions, was beginning to understand the importance of what she had once dismissed as merely instinct. Their conversations were no longer about science or observation alone. They had begun to talk about life in a more personal way, about the fears, joys, and hopes that made them who they were. Ilisara, once so certain that emotion was a weakness, had slowly begun to change her perspective. She was beginning to see the value in these human experiences that she had once considered irrelevant. One evening, after a long day of discussing human customs and Valseran culture, Adam and Ilisara sat together in their usual spot under the stars. The night was calm, and the air was cool. The gentle hum of the planet's life filled the silence around them, and for the first time, there was no tension. There was only the quiet comfort of two beings learning from each other. "Adam," Ilisara began, breaking the peaceful silence, I've been thinking a lot about what we've shared. I never expected this. I thought I understood everything about my species. I thought we had everything figured out, our technology, our way of life, but now I see there's so much more to life than I ever imagined. Adam looked at her, his expression soft. I think you're starting to see the bigger picture, Elisara. It's not just about technology or efficiency. It's about connections, about what we feel and how we experience life. Elisara nodded slowly, her eyes reflecting the starlight above. Yes, I understand that now. I thought I could control everything. My people have done so for centuries, but emotions, they are unpredictable. They make us vulnerable, but they also make us stronger, don't they? Adam smiled, a sense of warmth filling him. That's exactly it. We may not always have control, but in a way, that's what makes life beautiful. We don't know what tomorrow will bring, but we face it together. Elisara looked down at her hands, her fingers playing with the fabric of her tunic. I never realized how much I needed to understand emotions, to feel something deeper than logic or reasoning. My people, we have evolved beyond the need for such things. But I now realize perhaps we've lost something precious in that process. Adam reached over and placed his hand gently on hers. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything in that moment. Elisara looked up at him, her eyes softening. Thank you, Adam. I never thought I could feel this way. It's confusing and beautiful at the same time. I still have much to learn, but I think I'm beginning to understand what you mean by connection. I'm glad, Adam said, his voice warm and reassuring. There's no rush. Understanding comes in time. And sometimes the most important lessons are the ones we never expected to learn. Elisara smiled, a small, genuine smile that reached her eyes. I'm starting to understand that. The days that followed were marked by quiet moments of reflection and small discoveries. Elisara asked more questions, eager to learn about the human experience. She wanted to know about love, loss, and the bonds that tied humans together. Adam, in turn, shared stories of his own life, his own struggles, and what it meant to be part of a family, a community, in a world that was always changing. One day, as they walked through the alien city, Elisara turned to Adam, her expression thoughtful. Adam, she began, her voice gentle but serious. I think I finally understand why you place such importance on these connections. It's not just about emotions. It's about the strength that comes from relying on others. It's about knowing that no matter what happens, you have someone by your side. And that gives you courage. Adam nodded, his heart swelling with pride. Exactly. It's not about being perfect or having all the answers. It's about being there for each other, no matter what. Elisara's expression softened and she paused, as if considering her next words carefully. I've spent so much of my life thinking that emotions were a weakness. I thought my people had evolved beyond them, but now I see that they are not a weakness. They are the foundation of everything. Without them, we would not be who we are. Adam felt a deep sense of connection in that moment. Elisara had come so far. She was no longer the logical, detached scientist she had once been. She was someone who had learned to value the human experience, not just from a scientific standpoint, but from the heart. You've come a long way, Elisara, Adam said quietly, and I'm proud of you. It takes courage to change your beliefs, to open yourself up to something new, but you're doing it. Elisara smiled at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. And I couldn't have done it without you. You've shown me a world I never knew existed. You've shown me what it means to truly connect. And for that I am grateful. Adam smiled back, feeling a warmth spread through him. This journey, this connection had changed him too. He had never expected to come to Valsira and learn so much. About himself, about his own species. But in Elisara, he had found a friend, a companion, a bond that would last far beyond their time on this planet. As they walked side by side, Adam realized that their relationship was no longer just about teaching or learning. It was about partnership, about understanding each other in ways that transcended preparing to return to Earth. But for Adam, this journey had become something much more. It wasn't just about studying the Valsirans or observing their ways. It was about the connection he had found with Elisara, a bond that had transcended everything he had expected. As the final days on the planet drew near, Adam and Elisara spent more time together, walking through the alien gardens and talking under the stars. They had come so far from the first day they met, when Elisara had been skeptical of human biology and emotions. Now she was no longer just an observer. She was a part of his world, and he a part of hers. One evening, as they walked along a path lined with alien trees, their conversation took a more serious turn. "Adam," Elisara began, her voice quieter than usual, "I have been thinking about everything we've shared, about the connection we've built." She paused, looking up at the sky, her violet eyes reflecting the light of the twin suns. "I never imagined that something so simple as human emotions could mean so much. But now I see that they are the foundation of everything." Adam stopped walking, his heart beating a little faster. He had heard Elisara speak about emotions before, but this time there was something different in her tone. Something deeper. "Elisara, I don't think I could have explained it any better myself," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "You've come so far in such a short time, and I'm proud of you. I didn't expect to learn so much from you, but I have." Elisara looked at him, her gaze softening. "I never expected to learn so much from you, Adam, before you. I thought I understood everything about life, but now I realize that there is so much more to it than I ever imagined. Your connection to others, to family, to love, it's something I never truly understood until now, and I see it's what makes you human." Adam smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "It's what makes us all human, I think. We are all connected by our emotions, by the way we care for each other, and I'm glad I could help you see that." They stood in silence for a moment, the only sound being the soft rustling of the alien trees around them. There was a peacefulness between them, a sense of mutual understanding that neither of them had expected when they first met. "I have been thinking about the future," Elisara continued, her voice steady. "I do not know what my people will think of all this. They have never experienced emotions in the way that humans do, but I think I want to explore this more. I want to learn what it means to truly feel, to form connections in ways that are beyond logic." Adam's heart skipped a beat. He hadn't expected Elisara to express such thoughts. She had come so far in her understanding of human emotions, but now it seemed as though she was opening herself up to something even deeper. "You don't have to leave, Elisara," Adam said quietly. "If you want to stay, to learn more, there's no reason you can't. I know it's not easy, but we could find a way, together." Elisara turned to face him fully, her expression thoughtful. "I have never considered leaving my people. But now I realize that there is so much I want to experience. I want to understand the bonds that humans form. I want to understand love not just as a concept, but as something that is real, something that connects us." Adam's heart swelled with emotion. He never expected to find such a connection with an alien, but here he was, standing beside someone who had become so much more than just an observer of human life. Elisara was now part of it, part of his world, part of his heart. "I don't know what the future holds, Elisara," Adam said softly, his voice filled with hope. "But I do know that what we've shared here, it's real, and it's something that will stay with me no matter where we go." Elisara smiled at him, her violet eyes filled with a quiet understanding. "I know, and I feel the same way, Adam. What we have is something that cannot be undone. It has changed both of us." Adam reached out, his hand finding hers. The touch was simple, but it carried all the weight of their journey together. It was a promise that no matter what happened next, they would always carry this bond with them. As they stood there, hand in hand, the stars above them seemed to shine a little brighter. The bond between them was no longer just an idea or a curiosity, it was a part of who they were. Something that neither time nor distance could erase. "Whatever happens next," Elisara said softly, "I will always remember this. I will always remember you." Adam nodded, his voice filled with emotion. And I will remember you, Elisara. You've shown me something I never expected. Something beautiful. With that, they stood together for a long while, watching the stars and knowing that their connection, however far apart they might be in the future, would always remain. It wasn't just about science or discovery anymore. It was about two beings from different worlds, united by something deeper than anything they had ever known. And as they prepared to say goodbye to Valsira and return to their respective worlds, both Adam and Elisara knew that they had shared something truly special, something that would remain with them forever, no matter where their journeys would take them.